All right, this is the second negative constructive. My name is Max, and my partner and I will be arguing the resolution that patients should be allowed to seek physician-assisted suicide. I'm going to kick it off with some definitions. I'd like to point out that the affirmative failed to offer definitions on assisted suicide and terminally ill. So Merriam-Webster defines assisted suicide as suicide by a patient facilitated by means such as a drug prescription or by information such as an indication of a lethal dosage provided by a physician aware of the patient's intent. And the main thing for me there in the definition is aware of patient's intent, because there's disclosure there between the doctor and the patient. The second definition I'd like to offer is terminally ill. Merriam-Webster's dictionary offers the definition of having a disease that cannot be cured and will cause death. So, to me, that definition is extremely vague. And there hasn't really been a definition offered in this debate which defines what terminally ill illnesses are. We've talked about the quality of life, and if the quality of life is low and there's exceeding pain, but we're not talking about actually illnesses. And when we're talking about writing laws into federal books, we have to be very concise and to the point on what defines a terminal illness. The affirmative has failed to provide a definition, and it's unclear what's deemed acceptable for assisted suicide. So their claims make an issue of solvency to the resolution because they failed to define the parameters of acceptable illnesses for assisted suicide. So this failure, again, it leads to ambiguity within federal law. But there are certain different disadvantages to allowing patients to seek physician-assisted suicide. My partner mentioned the Hippocratic Oath. And this is not only an issue of an oath that you're bound to, but it's also a moral obligation. And not all doctors are willing to break that moral obligation, whether or not it's allowed under state law or federal law. But it also provides an alternative to doctors other than finding a way to cure the illness. It provides an easy way out, if you will. Second, it demeans the value of human life, implying that accepting death is more worthwhile than living. So this takes away the patient's pursuit to life that's guaranteed by the Constitution. Doctors and family may be prompted to give up on recovery much too early. So there's tons of cases out there where terminal illnesses have been actually cured. You hear all the time about miracle cures or recoveries. And also when you look at people with depression and people who have thoughts about suicide, a lot of the people that pull out of that and don't actually attempt suicide regret the thoughts of actually trying to commit suicide. So if you take someone's state of mind, like in that instance, they might feel a certain way, but if the illness went a different way and they started to be cured, their thoughts might change entirely. Last, it gives the doctors too much power, and that can be wrong or unethical. A patient's mental stability may not be at the utmost, they might not be the sharpest or the clearest thinking that they have been in the past, especially when they have terminal illnesses. And lastly here, there is no payout for assisted suicide for insurance companies. I was trying to think of different advantages to actually doing physician-assisted suicide. The only one that I could think of was a possible payout through insurance companies, so that when the life is over, the life insurance may pay out to the family. But according to lifeinsuranceLearnCenter.com, doctor-assisted suicide, commonly known as death with dignity or right to die situations, involves people diagnosed with a terminal illness who choose to end their lives rather than suffer through treatment and are diminished quality of life, and it falls under the suicide clause in life insurance policies. So there's no sort of special circumstance that a physician-assisted suicide might be able to offer to the families. They're not going to be able to write that off. And that concludes my objective.